We are up and running. And morning, everybody.
Good
We have
morning.
one new
Morning.
person that we're pleased to have, and that's Michelle, aka I'm not going to say it, or you're going to get tagged with my mistake forever.
Brains even more.
We've learned a little bit about you and the camera that you use, but and we learned from Helen before you came online um, that you almost had to rescue Helen and Betty from a mud bog under the bridge, but um,
It was a bit of an ice bog, but I was very curious as to what these two ladies were doing in the pond, kind of under the bridge. So I had to stop and ask them, and I'm glad I did.
yeah.
I am too.
I'll give you my 2 seconds. I'm Michelle Massa. I've liked taking photographs for a long time, and a while right before the pandemic, I got a Sony A6000 and I'd signed up for a class to learn how to use it. And then we all know what happened. So it went back in the box and I really haven't touched it because we also during the pandemic, we bought a house here in Farrington Village in Chatham County. And we moved from Arlington, Virginia, from the DC area. We've been here about a year and a half, going on a year and a half. And I mostly take pictures with my iPhone, I hate to say, but it's convenient, as we all know. I also recently got Lightroom, which I fussed with a little bit on the 2 photos I sent to Mike. And I'm going to try and, like I said, have you guys inspire me to learn some more and get a little more active with the real camera.
That's great. That's great.
And Lynn
Just got a new member there on Chuck's lap.
Lynn, for one, and maybe others, but has both Sony and uses Lightroom. So she's one connection in the group. And all you have to do is ask and you'll get all kinds of help. And maybe some of it you really don't want, but that mostly. But anyway, thanks for coming. Hope we can hang on.
Thanks for having me.
Any other announcements? No. Well, our education director is Bill.
The UPI pictures of the year have been released. The UPI pictures of the year have been released.
And
Photojournalism.
you recommend us taking a look at them at upi.com?
I reckon. They're photojournalism. That's not my thing, but yeah,
Yeah.
of course they're fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well,
I know. Photojournalism is great, but I can't imagine myself in a war zone.
Yeah. Right.
well, and if you're on Flickr, it doesn't really compare to what you're going to find on UPI, but every year Flickr does your best shot of ... and they get thousands and thousands of submissions. And that's a place to get some views, some comments, and anyway.
Did you submit some, Michael? Did you submit some images to that?
I sent one last year and it didn't go anywhere, but I haven't gotten around to sending anything this year. And whether I do, I don't know. But Michelle, you're going to know that I'm a Flickr fan and proselytizer. Michelle joined us on Facebook. And I don't know, Michelle, if you are on Flickr, but it's a very good source.
Is anybody else's screen blank? Is anybody else's screen black?
Yeah,
blank?
well, it's Bill sharing. Oh, there he goes.
Okay.
I was paused.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, unpause Bill and forge ahead.
We're good.
Okay, let's see.
And I should add, while he's coming back with his screen, that we do a tips and tricks virtually every meeting for 5, 10 or so minutes. And Bill's been the heavy load carrier on that for a long time.
It keeps telling me my screen is paused
Mhm.
and I tell it to resume and it won't.
All we see is that it says you're sharing your screen and it's like stuck in a loop, it looks like.
Lord knows I'm no help.
Okay, let me,
We got you again, Bill.
unfortunately, yeah. Let's see. Here. Okay. Let me go away for a second. Let's see.
We lament every meeting why Zoom is so difficult. But every group that I'm a part of has this.
There we go.
Here we go.
All right.
I don't know what I did.
That's my
Turn it off and turn it back on.
Okay,
Classic restart.
I'm gonna leave it as it is, because I may go back and forth on some of those images on the left, so I'm not gonna go to full screen. But a couple of people brought up the idea of what white balance is and want to know a little more about it. But when we talk about white balance, we're actually talking about the temperature of light. And think of it as if you feel something very warm and if you feel something very cold. When you see very orangey color pictures, you're on the lower end of the temperature of light because it's measured in Kelvin. A number like 1,000 would be something that's very warm, something like candles, a fire, things like that. Then you go to the other side, which is up near the 10,000 range. It's very cool. This is what your image would look like on a very overcast day in the shade where it's a lot of blue in your image. Now, when it comes to what we need to know about white balance is an exception, it's not the rule, because most of us shoot on auto white balance, which means that the camera is going to try to bring the image back to what it calls daylight. Some examples is like I said before, a candle scene might be a number between 1,000 and 3,000. When you go to sunrises, the temperature of the scene might be around 4,000. Daylight, which is considered normal, is the sun at noon, which is between about 5,200 and 6,000. Then you see when it gets into the more shady areas, you're at 7,000, or very heavily overcast is 9,000. So, these are kind of the ranges of your scene. Now, in the heavily overcast, a lot of kind of like the reds and the oranges are not in your scene. And what happens at the other end, is where you don't have a lot of blues. What your auto balance will do, it'll try to bring it to the center. And it generally does a pretty good job. And the fact is, white balance was much more important during the film days. I don't know how many of you remember that when you went to the store, you had a choice of, do you want daylight film or do you want tungsten film? Not only just film or slides, but there's a color temperature, and that's what purchasing those different kind of films were for. If you're going to be doing indoor shots, you go for the tungsten film. If you're going to be outdoors, it'd be daylight. We're much luckier nowadays because we don't have to worry about that because we have digital and we have something called an auto white balance. Also in the film days, if you had a certain kind of film in your camera and you wanted to take a picture in the opposite environment, then you would end up having to put films on it, filters on it. So it was much more difficult in those days. But again, we have white balance, auto white balance on our digital cameras that try to bring that picture to what is considered normal, which is around about 5,200 Kelvin. Our eyes do a much better job at adjusting than the camera. So what we really need to do is shoot raw. Something that's been said many times is shoot raw. Because when you're shooting raw, you can adjust the color temperature completely within your image. What I have is a couple examples. What I did is took some pictures outside of, right behind me here, looking over our backyard. This here is with auto white balance on. So it's balancing in the scene how much blues it needs, how much oranges it needs to try to come up with a normal image. Now, in many cameras that you might have, you have settings that are called incandescent, tungsten, daylight,
Flash.
shade, cloudy, things like that. And what you do is, if you're in that situation, you can change that dial to be in cloudy or shade. And what it will do, it will adjust for your scene. You're always setting that based on the scene in front of you. Now, what I did is the camera's on a tripod, nothing changes. I put it on incandescent.
Mhm.
Now, what we said before is that the lower Kelvin number is the warmer end of the spectrum. And what it's doing right here, it's adding blue. And it's adding obviously too much blue. I go and change it to fluorescent, which is a little higher Kelvin. And you see less blue is being added. So you can see we've gone from very muted brown on the trees. Now it's allowing more orange to come in and less blue to come in. This is the direct sun setting on the camera. Again, here's the fluorescent, 3,700 Kelvin. So the camera's trying to add blue in. Now I'm bringing it up to what our eyes normally see. Now you'll see that the green shelf is greener. The leaves in the back are now browner. Because it's now balancing, whoops. It's now balancing the blues and the oranges. If I put the setting on cloudy, now what it's doing, you can see the difference here. I'm saying that I'm in a cloudy environment, even though I'm not. So what it's trying to do now is add oranges to it to give it a warmer look. Then when I go to the other end of the scale, all the way over to 8,000, you can just see that the orange is kind of overwhelming the leaves. And you can even see the reflection, I guess, of some of these leaves on a shelf here. So what it's doing, it's constantly just moving back and forth between oranges and blues. Now, when would you use it? Well, you're going to use it if you're going to be sitting someplace for a long time, taking images, because I'm trying to think how to really say this, but okay, I was on the workshop and we're taking images, and the sun was going down. This blue sky wasn't really a deep, dramatic blue. And I had it on auto white balance. And the instructor come up to me and he says, Bill, change it to shade. Because there was a blue sky and there was starting to be an orangey horizon. He says, move it over to shade. So what it did, it added in the oranges, and it would make that orangey sky a little more dramatic. So you can use these kind of settings to make it just a little more dramatic. You can add blues and you can add oranges depending on which side you go. But whenever you're using the higher Kelvin, it's adding oranges. If you use the lower, it's adding blues to try to compensate to get you somewhere around here in the middle. I don't use the white balance. I leave it on auto. It is much better to use raw and be able to do it inside of Photoshop. You can do it inside of Photoshop Elements, Affinity, and all the others. Once you transform your image to JPEG, and if you only shoot JPEG, you lose a lot of the ability to adjust for white balance. Now, as a little example down here, these are all the 3 same scenes sitting on a tripod over, of course, in a duck. And you can see by what I did is I changed the white balance. All I wanted to do was to see what the images would look like differently. So you can see on the bottom where we have a lot of really deep oranges out there. What I did is I shot it at probably something like shade or cloudy, because it added oranges. On the top one here, I may have gone a little more toward incandescent or fluorescent so that it added more blues. So probably 95% of the shooting that you do, auto balance during the day, is going to work absolutely fine. Now, if you want to get a little more creative, you can use auto balance for something like this, for making something a little more dramatic. As you can see on the bottom one, I made the sky more dramatic by raising the Kelvin. And here I made the sky a little bluer by going a little lower Kelvin. So, yeah, I don't know how many people out there really adjust their white balance at all, but it's just something to know that, if you're sitting someplace and you're waiting for a scene to happen, you might want to try and think about how you can adjust that sky, or how to maybe make that horizon a little more dramatic. Again, this is something that would probably be more of an exception that you would use versus the rule. But it's something that you can use to maybe make your pictures look a little different. And the one on the bottom, I was kind of shocked with that, because I probably shot that up at like an equivalent to the 8,000 Kelvin. That's an overcast sky, which brought that dramatic horizon in. It's something to play with. And like I said, we probably don't use it that much. I don't personally find much use for it. And if you shoot raw, you can make all the stuff happen inside of Photoshop. Uh,
Bill,
Yeah,
on these three that you are showing right here, did you do this in the camera or did you do it afterwards when you were processing?
this was in camera.
In camera, okay.
Yeah.
You would have gotten the same effect by doing, shooting all at auto, and then when you process, change the white balance at
Right.
that time, you would have gotten basically the same effect you got here.
Yes, and that's the focus on raw. And I think in future tips and tricks, what I'd like to do is start talking more about raw and
Mhm.
how in post-processing you have more control. So I think it's a step that we're probably ready to go into, because with raw, you have a file there that has every little megapixel of information that you have control over. Once you go to JPEG, you lose probably half or more of the data that's out there. Now you can take a JPEG and put it in a raw editor and make some adjustments, but you're only going to be it's going to be very minimum of the changes that you can make. So I think this is almost a first step for us to maybe learn a little more about raw and how post-processing, we don't have to worry as much during taking the image. We can do it later on.
I don't want for a second to encourage people to avoid raw, because as Bill says, it really is the way to go. But if you're not using raw, or if you have some older photos before you start shooting raw, there are still some things in the post processing outside of raw that you can do. Color sliders. That's one, but even on the iPhone, and I'm sure with Androids as well, there is a way to control temperature from warm to cool. So it's not just in RAW that you can do it. It's just that doing it in RAW is superior, and you give yourself a whole lot more latitude. But I agree, Bill. We need to do some more on RAW.
Because what I found during this workshop, the big mistake that I made is that I shot in raw and then super fine. So I was creating two images every time I took a shot. I come home with 1,600 images to go through, which is crazy. Now, JPEGs are nice because if you want to put something on social media, if you want to show somebody quickly, it's there. But what I did wrong, I should have taken everything in RAW, because no matter what you use, if it's PS Elements, if it's Photoshop, Affinity, you can go in there and you can do one picture, or you can do the whole lot of them, and you can have that process make you a JPEG. So there's no reason to shoot the JPEG if you can convert that raw file to a JPEG in a batch within your software. So I really could have taken 800 images and saved a lot of space on my memory card and just did the conversion later on. And I think it'll be good because I'm planning to do the raw starting at our in-person meeting in 2 weeks. So I'll be able to have the files, have the software, and go over this kind of stuff. But yeah, raw is really where we need to step toward.
All right, Bill. Thanks a lot again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
And Bill is taking us in a slightly different direction with the photos. And since he's going to do his own screen sharing of his photos, we're going to put him first and then get into the queue that I'll try to manage.
Okay, it's giving me the same thing as before. I'm paused. So I'm gonna do this. Gonna come back here. And it says, same thing again.
Yep.
And now we're back here again.
By the way,
Oh,
Bill, what's
For
I know, I think,
for you, Bill, I hate this, but for me, I'm kind of glad that I'm not the only one that has problems.
There.
There we
There
There we
go.
go.
there we go. Instead of images, what I have is a little story. And this is something that actually happened, but it's almost like The Sopranos, you know, when they're singing, and all of a sudden the darkness comes, you don't know what happened to Tony and his family.
Right.
But in this case here, I looked out on the steps here that go out of the sunroom, and something was different. It was out there before the windstorm. It's not down there. Let's take the steps and go down onto the path. Well, we'll never find it. Let's take a walk to the pond. Reach the pond, and what a great day. What? What's that on the ice? Is it what I think?
Oh, wow.
Maggie's ball.
Oh,
That ball was on the steps at the house over a third of a mile away.
oh.
How did it get there?
Raccoon.
The end. The
Boy,
end.
how-
I should have music on here. Don't stop believing. That was on the, for anybody that watched Sopranos.
right?
How did you get
Had
it back?
Maggie missed her ball?
Actually, what I did, it was funny, and my wife put it out, I think, on Facebook. I took a picture of Maggie off of another image, and I put her with her paw on the ball. So people
Oh.
thought that maybe she went out onto the ice to get the ball, but that
Amazing.
was my story. Yeah.
And I wrote Bill a note saying that it had occurred to me that maybe sometime we ought to do a challenge using video. You know, a 10-second clip, 15-second clip, but that's something to put before the subcommittee that decides what the challenges are going to be. But you know, you
That'd
can
be fun.
record with your phone, you can record with a lot of cameras these days, and it might be interesting just to do a video challenge once sometime out in the
Yeah.
future. All right, we're going on to regular pictures.
We're getting to regular, yeah, getting
That's
away from
great, Bill.
irregular.
That's great, because I know where you live and I know where the pond is right behind me. So, wow.
Wow.
Nice.
All right. This first one is Lynn's, as is the second one.
Guilty.
Nothing
So that
to
That is-
feel
there's
guilty
a-
about. It's a good shot.
there's a. So I did have the camera held down closer to the ground when I took this. So there's a cement walkway that runs parallel to Weathersfield that goes down toward Galloway.
Right.
And there's a little stream that runs under there, and that was when it was so, 9 degrees or whatever, and it was frozen over. I just thought it was great anyway, so I
Yeah.
took a picture.
Wow.
It was just handheld. It was too cold to worry with tripods and stuff like that.
Great.
Well, the
That is nice.
The stream leads you into the picture.
Right?
Yeah.
You've got the leading lines.
I have another one that showed the trees behind it, but I thought they were sort of superfluous. Obviously, that's ice.
That is great.
And
Where's
then-
that at, Lynn?
In Farrington,
Barrington, okay.
yeah, on the Galloway property.
Oh, okay.
Well, this one's good. The next one is even better, I think.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice. That's a nice composition.
Yeah, I like.
That is,
This reminds me of
did you
something.
play?
This reminds me of something that Tom or AJ would do, and there's another one coming up later that's a similar thing that I really like as well. I don't.
Yeah.
How,
Now,
what
the
are those
question, the
white
question
strips?
is, Lynn,
I'm sorry?
What are the white strips?
Lynn, did you?
Bubbles.
Just bubbles
Oh,
under the,
over here. I don't know, because it's very shaded in there.
one looks like a crocodile with an eye on it. That,
Did you place,
Yeah.
did you place that leaf there or was it there?
The leaf was just there,
just sitting there. Good.
just sitting there. It was just waiting for somebody to take a picture of it.
I like that the leaf is green, which is something we think of as springtime and growth, and then there's the ice. So that's,
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that little bit of contradiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Excellent.
Thank you.
That's,
Hey, hey, Lynn, how about getting rid of the schmutz?
Getting rid of what?
The technical term.
Schmutz.
Yeah. All the little debris that's around there that doesn't really add anything
Oh, that
to
would be.
by my reckon.
Well, I think, I don't know, it kind of lends itself to the fact that it's ice and it's sitting on top of something frozen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah.
It would take forever to eliminate all those.
Yeah. No kidding.
right.
Just have to bring a broom with you.
It
I'm
probably
sorry?
is lodged.
Bring a broom.
Well, great shot, Lynn.
Beautiful.
Really great.
Yeah, very nice.
I forgot where my list is. Next up is Bob.
Okay.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
wow.
Yeah,
nice.
this is in Farrington down at the Roost. It was the morning that it was 8 or 9 degrees, as you can tell. And I had aperture at 4.5. I was pretty close, 24 millimeters. 1/160th of a second shutter speed. And I did crop out some of all the buildings in back, the bank, etc. So it was cropped, and that was it.
It's cropped well. It looks good.
Good, good. Yeah, that was definitely a cold morning.
Obviously.
And Bob, did the image you send me have this white border? Or is it something I did in
No, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. Yeah, I think it probably did.
Well, I hope I didn't do something I've got the original and I'll go back and look at it, and I apologize.
Yeah, well, I need to do that. I should do that too. I don't know.
Did you try to put a border around it?
No, I didn't.
Did you
because,
crop it in,
What's that?
did you crop it in photo elements?
I did.
So sometimes when you're cropping it, if you move the, whatever it is down, it'll put that white in there. I wouldn't say I understand it, but on the other hand, I know sometimes when I'm cropping and if I move it down past where the photo is, it'll stick white in there. So I'm wondering,
Yes, it will.
could be a product of photo elements.
I
Yeah,
agree. I've done that too.
And
Yeah, it's the cropping function.
Bob,
When you extend the,
Bob, looking at what you sent me, when it shows up on my phone, at least, the white background is there, but it wouldn't have been noticeable that it was just on the left and bottom. But So I think the others have nailed it.
That's, yeah,
Some
okay.
some artifact of elements, but nice shot, and the cropping is good. And this too is
Yeah, what about
Good.
getting rid of that black back on that one, the black, I guess it's the electrical outlet or whatever
uh,
on the.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, I think, yeah, I see that now. I didn't notice it.
It's so black. It's
Yeah.
blacker than just about anything else that it catches my eye. And how did the others feel? Do you think it would?
Yeah,
I agree.
I didn't think about that. So,
And one thing you could have tried, Bob, too, is to get closer. You know, to get, maybe put your arms on the bricks around there and get right up against some of the ice.
yeah, that
And
would have
really try to
good
really
shot.
get the details, like the veins and everything inside the ice as well.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, good.
yeah,
It's still a good picture because it gives us the whole effect.
and this one is Bob's.
Ooh.
So this was also when it was 8 or 9 degrees. I went down to the Haw River just to see what I would see. And
Huh.
so you can't really tell that it's 8 or 9 degrees, but my body knew it was 8 or 9 degrees. So,
And Bob, this is a really good photo.
Yeah.
I love the
Yeah,
way the blue, the water shows up in really, well, 3 spots for sure, and depending on how you divide the foreground, but this one's got foreground,
Yeah.
midground, and background.
yeah, I like
Did you-
how it wound around the river.
Yeah, how it
Did
curves.
you
back.
use haze reduction at all?
I did. No, not haze reduction. I did messed around with, I cropped it with exposure. I messed around with that. I sharpened it. So I did a few things with it in elements.
When you have a lot of blues in the image like this, just for yucks, you know, hit that haze reduction, and it does some things with the blues that are pretty interesting. And if you don't like what it looks like, you can just undo it.
Okay, good.
Bob, where were you on the Haw River? Where's that at?
Boy, it's right by the bridge, by the Bynum
Okay.
Bridge. I'm
That
sorry.
little creek, that little creek?
Yeah, before
That
you
side
get to
creek?
the river.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
It just.
That's actually, that little trail could be a nice group outing because it follows that little creek for about a quarter of a mile. It's an easy hike.
Oh,
If
that'd
you've
be
been down there, right, Bob?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Well,
Is
this
that
was
the
to
one
keep
that
it,
said don't feed the ticks?
What's that?
I said, is that the one where the sign says don't feed the ticks and stay on the trail?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't get on the trail.
Oh,
I
okay.
have no, I don't think that's the same location. I haven't seen that sign.
I saw it this summer and died laughing.
This was at the beginning of the bridge.
Okay, yeah. I
From the
saw it
bottom.
on the, going to Pittsburgh on the right hand of 15501, that parking place.
That means that Mike can't go, right?
yep, right.
It's a
Well, as
great
I
picture.
said, Bob, this is a keep.
Good.
Well done.
Yeah,
Good.
very.
Mark,
Okay, I was not going to enter anything because I didn't take any images, and Mike persuaded me to show this image. This is in Alaska. This is an ice calving where I caught a giant piece of ice breaking away from the glacier, and we were on the boat, and I was shooting the glacier, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw this thing break off, and I literally turned maybe 2 feet, and I was able to capture this with a burst shot. This is at f9 at about a 500th of a second. The ISO I had set at 400. It's about 185 millimeters. So I was using an 18-400 lens, so it came out pretty nice. It's actually a little bit nicer if you blow it up. But it's one of those shots that I'd like to say I planned it. I didn't. I was in the right place at the right time and just had to make a little bit of a turn to catch it. So
Wow.
that's my ice shot. I'm sorry. There you go. That's
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
cool. It was pretty cool.
That's great.
It was pretty cool.
Incredible.
That's not on the
Wow.
Hall River. That's not on the Hall River. I apologize. I didn't have one to submit, but I was forced to by Mr. Stano.
Yeah, I do that a lot. Well, good
I'm
shot.
glad he did.
I envy you the trip.
It was good. I did have to play with the post-processing a little bit to get the blues to come out. It was kind of an overcast day, but a lot of times ice, if I think you all know that tends and snow can tend to be a little bit gray. But it's a beautiful color.
It is.
Well, from Bill's talk last time, snow is gray, is the gray balance.
It is.
So you have to overexpose it.
I wish I had listened to Bill's explanation of that 3 years ago before I went, or I could have done exactly what you said, Mike, and overexposed it and been okay.
Well, now you can go again.
Yes, I can. Just float me about $3,500 and I'm headed to Kodiak Island.
Also,
Thank you.
Great pick.
a place I would like to be is this shot from Valeri. Love this house.
Oh, that is.
That's a great shot.
That
Oh, I
is.
love the reflection of the person.
Yeah, I like the reflection.
taking the picture.
That's
And Larry,
That's
are you
awesome,
still
too.
with us? Oh, yeah, there he
that's
is.
that person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah, that person is me.
That's great. I think you
But,
were taking, yeah.
That's out of the library. Obviously, it's not around here. It's in Washington State, where my son-in-law has this place, and so it just happened that it snowed and before we got up there, and it really
And the
kind of
birds.
emphasizes the how quickly some of these storms can come through, and it's still sunny the next day, so it was really neat.
The birds in the window.
Yeah, that's lucky.
Yeah, that's great though.
They
Your
pose.
snow,
Right,
your snow is
exactly.
white.
Right, exactly.
You know, luck is good.
But if you keep that the way it is, and it's hard to see, but behind me is Mount Adams. It's off just above where I'm standing. You can see there's a little bit that's
Larry-
Mount Adams
Larry?
back there. It's not.
aside from the birds, there's another little capture, I
The
think.
moon.
Yeah, do you see the moon up in that corner?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I didn't see that.
Or a flying saucer.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had to go to the library and pull that out of my photo libraries because I didn't want to go out and freeze like you brave folks.
Well, it sure captures.
I just want to say something while I have your attention. When Bill was talking about white balance, I did go to my camera and I did, Bill says, know your camera. Well, I didn't know white balance on my camera and I just discovered it. So thank you, Bill, for putting me in that direction. For any mirrorless users, in order to control the white balance in your menu, you have to go off of auto. So I went on aperture priority and I was able to look at all different kinds of white balance, the different modes. And one, which was really surprising, was underwater. It said underwater,
Yeah.
So I thought, wow,
What
that
mo-
was pretty cool.
what camera do you have, Larry?
Is that Sony, that A6000, and that's
Okay.
the one Michelle has.
Right.
We have a few mirrorless folks here. So anyway, so I just thought I'd mention that. Thank you, Bill, for putting me in touch with my menu.
Learn your camera.
That's what you said.
Larry,
Okay.
this needs to be a postcard or a Christmas card or postcard for your kids. Good shot.
Yeah,
Hmm.
wishing you were here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I agree with that.
Chuck.
Oh,
Well, I was nowhere near a cold place last week. I was in California. This is Disneyland, and I just had my iPhone because I didn't want to bring my big camera in there. I had it with me on the trip, and so I thought, we waited. I don't know. There's a parade. I think twice a day they do a parade down the main avenue there, and it was a pretty cool event.
Yeah.
And so I selected two, and this was obviously a very challenging exposure because it's so bright in the background, and my main subject, most of my subject was in the shadow. So this is after, just like you said, I did some post-processing, even though it was just a simple JPEG from my phone. I was able to do some adjustments, and I did some selection and try to adjust the exposure and the color accordingly. And so it's better than it was, but yeah, it's a snapshot. But I thought it was amusing for the theme. That's one of them. And then the next one is the same from the same event. And probably the most fun being there in Disney. There you go. There's Frozen right there. And I can't help but have that stupid song in my head every time I look at it.
That's exactly right. You got little ones running around.
Just let it go.
oh,
That's great.
Those are great. Those are great pictures. I really.
I think so.
I think this is a better image than the first one, and I did a lot of cropping, and I did a little bit of because I was at a weird angle, and I did a little bit of adjustment of the horizon, just to try to. But the buildings have kind of one plane, and the float has another, but anyway, and I don't know enough about how to do the vertical adjustment. I have to play with that and learn that some more about the distortion. You intentionally distort the vertical angles, but anyway, I would just say that the coolest thing there was to go to the Star Wars section, and every detail in that in that area is according to the theme, and it just looks like an infrastructure of a different world. It's pretty cool. Anyway, we had a good time. My wife and I, we were with our son, and they have two daughters, an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old. So it was great to be with them to see this.
That's great.
Good
Thanks,
pick.
Chuck.
Okay.
And next,
Very nice.
speaking of out of the universe, Tom.
Oh,
Oh, nice.
Yeah, this is one that was somewhat reminiscent of the one Lynn showed. I know
Hope
Tom.
that's not your driveway.
Okay, let's see. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, this is our pond, and hey, Mike, move the cursor out of there. That doesn't look
Oh,
good.
sorry.
Yeah, that's
Or
right.
is that my cursor? Oh, there we go. There we go.
Yeah, it's much better.
Yeah, it was, the pond was frozen, and there was a leaf out there, and there was some other debris too, but I took that away, and I just thought it looked cold.
I like it.
I like the way that you've got the gradient in the light.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That's
I think
totally
in that regard,
accidental.
Helen, one of the things that's important is there's still detail back in that upper left-hand corner.
Yeah.
That can get blown out.
Yeah.
And the
Mhm.
question, Tom,
Mike, can you zoom in on that a little bit?
on the upper left,
The leaf?
Yeah. Upper right. Yeah, there you go.
Sorry.
Wow.
I know I did a lot of selective sharpening on the leaf itself. I sharpened it like 5 or 6 different times, kept multiplying the sharpening. There you go.
Minimalist.
Handheld. It's f4.5 at the 30th of a second, and it was handheld, so
Oh,
pretty good.
well, it must have been if it's 30th of a second handheld, was it about what was your focal length then?
f4.5.
But
Aperture.
28 millimeters, I mean, wide angle.
Okay.
28 millimeters, yeah.
so kind of a wide angle, yeah.
Right.
Well,
That's
another
good.
thought, Tom.
Excellent.
And this may be what was underneath on Lynn's photo. Pieces that had been frozen
Wow.
over, but this is amazing.
Yeah, this is.
And just look at the back,
looking for it here.
that dark blue section.
Yeah, and then the light
Yeah.
underneath the pieces or on it. That's so cool.
It's I'm looking for the data here. It's f2.8 at 100th of a second. And a whole lot of post-processing here, a whole lot.
So what was it, Tom? Were the pieces of ice on top there and they broke, or?
Yeah,
maybe-
it was a place where the ice had broken and then refroze.
Hmm.
Okay.
So that all that figure stuff in the middle, I have no idea. I think that's from just flotsam and that's refroze. It formed all those unusual shapes.
Yeah,
I just thought, wow, that's pretty cool. So
that is. Looks like a planes, with the different shapes and.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
I-
good.
Yeah, and it's I think my brother pointed out how it's has this sort of naturalistic look, but
Yeah.
also abstract.
Mhm.
Right.
It is abstract. That'd make a nice photo on the wall.
Well,
Yeah.
and Mark,
Frame that baby.
Mark, I've got a
I like the
similar
border,
comment.
too.
We talked about framing things, and I was talking about putting a border around so that the frame didn't come right up to the edge of the picture. And this is a perfect
Right.
example of that. I think one of
It
the
is.
things that really makes this photo is that border. And
Mhm.
if you have a mat that comes in too close to the photograph, there's just something that is lost, I think. And even doing something in a slideshow, that border helps.
I really regret that I didn't have a little more space on the right hand side there. I wish I don't know what I was thinking
yeah.
about, but I wish that curve could have been completed within the image.
Hey, Tom,
Yeah.
I wish I were 6 foot tall and had hair.
Thanks for
Well
your
said.
input, Bill. Good shot, Tom.
Excellent.
Very
Thanks.
nice.
Thanks.
And this one is Susan.
Oops, I can't see it yet.
There you go.
Uh,
Wow, Susan, that's really good.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
it
So this is my pond, and so I made myself get out there and walk around.
I love the reflection off of
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
on there. Light coming in from the top.
Yeah, and as I walked around, I realized that there was a reflection of the trees,
Right.
Mm.
Well, this is
It's
another
remarkable
example.
it's not blown out. It's not
Yeah.
blown out there in the shiniest. It's amazing that you could get all of that again, the difference in light and dark.
A lot of good texture.
Did you adjust the exposure to make the detail come out in the underexposed part?
The only
did you
thing I did was I used enhance on photo elements, but I didn't do anything else.
Uh-huh.
And there were some pictures I took that were lighter, but this came out darker, and I really liked that it was dark like this.
When you say enhance, because I use elements too, and did you just do the auto enhance, or did you do a selection within? Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry, I did haze removal. That's what I did.
Oh, okay.
That's all
All
I
right.
did. Haze
Yeah.
removal. I did a little bit of cropping, and
Yeah.
that was, yeah.
And the befores and afters were probably pretty dramatic.
Not, not as much as I thought, because again, it was kind of dark. I mean, I have lighter pictures, and this was a little darker when I even photographed it originally.
Do you have your EXIF information? All the data.
Yeah, it was f8, 1/1000th of a second, and the ISO was 200.
Well, in terms of the darkness, Susan, I think that's what really gives this shot a lot of mood.
Mhm.
That's what I like too. Yeah.
Really nice.
Very nice.
Really
Okay.
good.
That's a fabulous shot.
This
Thank
is
you.
Susan's as well.
Another one.
Yeah, no kidding.
And this is also the pond. And on one hand, I know that the top is sort of blown out, but I don't know. I don't know what you all think, but the front really shows the ice. So
Yeah.
I did crop it, but I don't know. What do you?
I mean, the light coming through, if that's too blown out, is that your question?
Yeah, I mean, it was, but on the other hand, I felt like it sort of.
No, I think it is. It really lights up that, I guess that's a stick or some in the water, and how that just like shines right down on it and lights that up. I think that adds to it.
Looks
Yeah, if
good.
the overexposure followed through all the way to the bottom, we would probably be criticizing it. But I think because it makes that transition from being overexposed to, being able to see the detail, I think it actually enhances it.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
like it.
And I like the contrast with the shadows to the left. So, it's a nice kind of gradient, a change in the gradient of light, I guess is how I would describe it. Yeah, it's just really draws you right in there. I think it looks great.
Yeah.
I do too.
And
Su-
Susan, the other
Susan, it
thing,
looks,
the other
Yeah.
thing in this same vein is that there are other little streaks of that bright light, left-hand corner, and then dropping down towards the bigger branch. And I think that's something that makes the really bright stuff, I don't know, maybe more dramatic. I want to see it.
Yeah, that's what I was
doorway
trying
into
to say.
heaven behind
Yeah.
that.
Mhm. And the blue, kind of the gray blue in the light to the right is really nice contrast too, or difference.
Well done, Susan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
Helen,
Hey, Susan, wait a minute. What about cropping that cropping the right off of it a little bit? But with this log coming in from like that,
Mhm.
to emphasize that beautiful streak of light. Anyway, that's
Keep things more centered in the center.
good idea.
Mhm.
Well, I think this one needs to go in Helen's greatest hits.
Really, this thing is beautiful.
This one knocks my
What is
socks
that?
off.
That is fantastic.
This is ice, of course, taken off of the bridge at Jenny's Park, and the streaks are where the sun was going through the rails of the bridge.
Wow.
Wow,
Wow, really abstract. It's cool.
Yeah, this is
Yeah, I
amazing.
did nothing to it. It was taken with an iPhone. There wasn't enough light to have gotten anything with my big camera anyway, and it just happened to find that. And that's what I
Wow.
was doing when I met Michelle.
That's blue ribbon, Helen. That's really beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're not going to get any even constructive criticism, I don't think.
Mhm.
Because what's strange is down at the bottom there on the left, where there's some kind of, it almost looks like a reflection of a tree, but it's also might be just,
Yeah.
old branches laying there. It kind of gives you the idea of what is it? It's making you think a little bit. Because my eye went right down to that bottom left and trying to figure out what that is, which is interesting.
I even found a clamshell down in there. I was worried about the brightness of the upper right corner in contrast, but then I decided I liked it. And I wish I had more of the bright.
I think the gold tone on the right-hand side, including that corner, is something that really adds to this.
Absolutely.
I wish I had more of that, but Betty was standing right there. And so I got what I could.
And what we talked about that one time about the colors, that blue and kind of the reddish colors are good complementary colors.
Mhm.
So that's why it works so well.
If you don't frame anything else, Helen, frame this one.
Okay.
And this one is, oh, what's going on here? There we go.
All right, now I think you got. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Same thing. I was down much closer by this time in the creek, balancing on my knees on rocks. And that's air pockets, I guess, under the ice, and then frozen pieces of ice. What the round thing is beyond me. It's just a reflection. Actually, I think it's a round rock, and that was part of the rock was sticking up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's amazing though, that circular. I mean, it looks so,
I don't. I have other pictures of it, and I need to go back and look at it. But it may be that rock sticking up, and it's the rim of the ice where it had thawed. I don't know.
I think that's
It's so
exactly what
perfectly
it is.
round though.
But I didn't do any processing. I just left the whatever was there because I just thought it was raw in a different sense of raw.
Yeah, it's really
I
nice.
like about it. You got the red, the reddish on that one leaf, and then green down below, the blue of the water. They all blend together very well.
And you can see some leaves under the ice to the upper left, which is really cool. And then I can see the bridge, looks like the railing maybe in the upper right. That's kind of cool too. Yeah, the color's really nice.
Sometimes it takes a lot of effort, but this one was worth every second, Helen, that you took to get down there. It really did. I mean, that's what it takes sometimes, is just a whole different perspective, getting close, going someplace where you normally wouldn't go. And
I wish I could say I took that with my Canon, but I would have never gotten enough light, and my lenses aren't very, very fast.
Hey, and that brings to mind something that happened a couple weekends ago. I ran into Graham Bird, and I called him on something, and I think some of you won't know Graham, but he was a big help to us for a long time, until fairly recently. But Graham was just really down on phone photography. I don't think I'm stretching it at all to say that he just poo-pooed phones, and he has started taking photos with his phone.
Yep.
And I called him on it, and he just away and laughed. So You can't put down phone photography.
No,
No, I
you can-
agree.
Both
You
of
can
these
even
are
shoot,
terrific.
you can shoot and raw on your phone.
Yeah.
really?
I haven't learned that yet.
You
I'm
can
not
shoot
sure I
it
can
raw
on
on your
mine.
phone.
I haven't
Just
Yeah,
go
you
into,
can do it. I haven't played
just
with
go
it
into
either.
settings and change it.
You gotta look it up.
You can shoot raw and JPEG at the same time on the 14.
Wow.
I have a 6S. I have an ancient technology.
Another
That
fun,
$70 Samsung.
There
fun thing to do.
is an add-on program you can buy for I think $5 that lets you do raw on anything, on any camera, on
Oh.
any phone.
Hmm.
So anyway, really, really good, Helen. And
Thank you.
Outstanding.
this is Michelle.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So
Same fountain.
this is a few days after that first fountain photo.
Yeah.
Things are melting and the ice was not sticking up like that. I flipped it up. I gave the fountain horns.
Way to go.
And I spent a lot of time with my blurring brush because that background was not blurred at all. And I hate the lady in the red coat.
Right.
But there she is. So I tried my best to blur out the background a little bit to, put the focus where I wanted it. But I was just walking this was before I knew about you guys. So I was just walking in the village with a friend and I snapped this with my iPhone. So
And
there she is.
what iPhone do you have?
I have a 11 Pro.
Okay.
I don't know when the camera software added this. I don't know whether it's on your camera, but there's a portrait mode.
Yeah, I have it on mine and I use it occasionally. But I find that it's often badly selective of what is foreground and what is background.
Mhm.
Well, I bring it
But
up.
I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, I brought it up because I think that would have been one way to blur the background. I love the
Right.
horns though.
Yeah, you could, on portrait, you could have put that on stage light and that whole thing would have been black.
Ah.
I use stage light a lot on the portrait mode on the 14.
I've never done that. I've never tried that. So
Just try that stage light and just back up a little bit and it'll tell you when you're at the right distance. And then you have to take a shot and it'll put a spotlight on it. And then you sort of got to adjust your cameras as to where that spotlight actually is. It could be in the front or on the top or whatever. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
also
you think-
I love that shot.
I love
Yeah.
the
Nice.
warm light in the underneath the fountain on the
Yep.
left-hand
Mhm.
side where the sun was hitting it. I don't know where the sun was, but I love that glow.
And look at all those
Just always
water
Always
drips.
remember, you can walk around it, and since that ice was there by you could have maybe moved it a little more, maybe had the roost in the background instead of that lady.
Yeah. Well, there's another photo. I have the second one, I think. So same fountain. So we
I
can-
like the stop action on the drops too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. About.
Shutter speeds
You know,
faster.
this thing in the middle that almost looks like a placket. All right, it looks like it's I don't know how to describe it. A label of some.
It's ice, I think. I should have knocked it off.
No. I think I love it. I love it.
Looks like a crown.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
like
know,
somebody's hand was up there,
but
Yeah.
it breaks up the rest of the rim. I like it.
Mhm.
Knock it off for a second. This one is Michelle's as well, and more water drops. That's
Second
cool.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really.
Here's a technical question you all can help me with. Because I didn't have any blurring going on, you can, and I did blur the the roost, but you can see where the water droplets are, where that chair and table are. I wasn't going to go in there and try and blur that. And I just
Right.
left. But how would you handle that if you were trying to fix that? And would you just take a really small brush and spend a lot of time?
I think
So
what
it
I
depends
do,
on your software. If
Yeah.
in Affinity, I would select out the fountain and and along the edge of the water and along the edge of the brickwork,
Mhm.
and then turn the whole rest of it black. And then also in Affinity, there is a place where you can remove stuff from within stuff. So you could figure out a way to, if you knew how to do it, I've forgotten how you do it, but you can get rid of those chairs and that round table that are behind the water. You
Yeah.
can get rid of that stuff. And that,
You can screen the water, the image
yes,
of the.
yes, you can.
Okay.
You definitely can. And it's kind of an advanced part of the whole program, but
Well, I have
you can do it.
Lightroom, and I
Mhm.
tried, they have a sort of an auto selection of objects in the
Right.
masking. And I
Right.
tried that, and it didn't select well. So I bagged it because I'm impatient. And I just went to the brush that I could scribble all over. But anyway, I also love, again, the little blown out bits is next to the rust. I think those are just beautiful colors. And
Yeah. Awesome.
again, I was just walking and I was with a friend, so I wasn't stopping and framing stuff. I was just clicking.
and
Right.
Michelle, there's one other thing that occurred to me as Tom was talking. I don't know whether it would work or not, but one of the things that I don't know, just be something to play with. Capture some of the raindrops as they come off that rim, and
Mhm.
and clone them over the chair.
That's it. Yeah. That,
So sort of use those to blur out that section versus actually going in with some other tool.
Exactly.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. Instead of remove the chairs, you're like covering them with the water,
Mhm.
like clumping in.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be a good thing to try. See how
Yeah.
it comes out.
Thank you.
Well,
Well,
welcome.
those are the only shots I had to happen to have that fit your subject.
Another thing to try with your iPhone is to turn it upside down so that the camera lens is low.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
That's a good idea. I've never tried that.
Yeah.
Never thought of that.
Adds a little more to the perspective, yep.
Mhm.
Huh.
All right. Well, we're glad you're with us. Thank you.
Yep.
And
Thank you for being so welcoming.
This is Frank. Well, not Frank, but this is his photograph.
Yeah. Yeah. This one I took with the iPhone. I was up in the Quebec City down the old part, and I was walking along and I caught this shot of this. It's like a sweatshop store, the clothing store, and they had sweatshirts hanging outside. And we had just had snow again the night before, so everything was covered in snow, and there was a frost. I guess water had gotten on these shirts, so they were frosted, and I thought that just added to it. I pretty much just shot it at it as is. I didn't do any other than cropping out. There was a sign above the door, and I just didn't want that in the picture, so I took it out. But I just like the colors, the red and the green and the gray of the following shirt. And it just struck me as I was walking along and took it.
It looks like you're down lower than
I did kind of kneel down a little bit.
yeah, I like that perspective.
Yeah, it was hard because it was all snow and, where people were walking, a lot of slush. So I didn't want to get down too low, but luckily with the iPhone, it's a lot easier to do that.
Turn it upside down.
Good picture.
That's true. That's true.
I like it that, you got the holiday decorations in there. It kind of helps you place what's going on,
Yeah.
and everything. Yeah.
Well, that's one thing about that area. There's decorations all over, lights, and it's just a very picturesque city.
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody's been there, but
I
it was.
have. I've been there.
I have.
I've been there both in the when it's been really snowy like that, and then in the summertime. It's a beautiful city.
I
It
was there
is.
in August.
I'm gonna put
Gorgeous.
this next one up.
Coach.
I'm gonna put this next one up and then abandon you for a second. I've got a pet problem and I'll be right back. But talk amongst yourselves.
All righty.
That's good.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, what we did was, I had my whole family, my kids and their kids were there, so there were 11 of us, and we took a trek out of the city and went dog sledding.
what
And
What a neat thing to do.
oh yeah, and this was the group in front of us. So those dogs right in front, the lower part were the ones on my sled, and I saw them this group going into the tunnel, and I thought, well, with the trees and the snow covering them, it formed like a circle. And they're like going into an abyss. And I said, wow, that's a great shot. And again, I had the iPhone because I didn't want to take my Canon out there on a dog sled ride. I don't know if it would have survived, especially if you fall over. So, but yeah, I shot this one and I was really happy with it. Not a lot of color in it, but just I like the way they're going into that tunnel, like they're disappearing.
It's great.
Yeah.
Great pick.
very nice.
But Mike was right. I mean, I use the iPhone more so than I normally do, and just got some great shots out of it. Great images. So, I tend to use it a little more, especially in a situation like this. It was snowing and it was cold. I just didn't want to be lugging the other camera with me and risk damaging it.
Yeah.
But everybody had a great time and you actually got to drive the sleds. That was fun.
I think that this is one thing that would actually get me out in the cold if I had the opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
Cool.
But they give you the overalls and all that, so you were not cold at all. As long as you
Right.
covered you were fine. But my daughter had given me for Christmas these gloves where you can lift the fingers off, so you can shoot and then cover them back up again and not
Oh,
freeze.
Yeah. Yep.
So this is a service that gives you the dogs and the sled?
Yeah, it was a place outside of the city, north of it. You go there. It's a dog sledding park, and it goes through a national park up there. So you pull in, you get your equipment. They take you out and give you about a half hour go through on how to drive the sled, what to happen if it falls over, how to stop the dogs. And once that was done, we just took off. And it was a blast. We all enjoyed it. The only scary part was coming down some of these hills. They go pretty quick.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, great
I
memory.
bet those dogs are amazing.
Yeah.
Frank has this last
And
one as well.
Yeah,
Ooh,
this overlooking the St. Lawrence River, right from the base of the lower city. And it was a storm had come through the night before and it was still cloudy. And I felt, wow, that would make a nice shot of the ferry coming in out of the dust there, so to speak. Have all the ice blocks on the river was frozen over a couple of times. Not deep. I mean, the ferry had no trouble going through, but I thought the clumps of ice and the grayness of it, it was kind of moody that I thought, well, this would make a great image. So
Yeah.
I went down there and waited, docked there and took it as it was coming in.
Well, the
Very nice.
composition's great in a couple
Yeah.
different
yeah,
ways.
the way, the way
The,
you had
Oh,
the ferry over toward the left.
Yeah.
Summer and winter, although I tell you, I enjoy the winter more. The decorations are just amazing. But yeah, this one, since I used my Canon, I did take the readings. It was a 1/320th of a second at f6.3 and ISO 400 at 120 millimeter.
well, I mentioned composition, Frank, that in this one, if you'd gotten in closer, it would have ruined it. But having that good chunk of foreground and the haze helped you out.
Right. Yeah, I did like those layers of ice in the foreground.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The reflections of the ferry in the water.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I coaxed Mark to do an oldie but goodie or one from the archives so that I could do two from the archives too. That is, you know what
We're seeing a
urea is?
picture on top. Oh, there we go.
There it
There we
is.
I want to look at that.
You know
Ooh,
what urea is? No?
what is?
Urea, U-R-E-A.
Urea?
Yeah, it's sheep piss.
Yeah.
It's it's granulated sheep pee. And at least in Oklahoma, during winter they would scatter it as a thawing agent. And one day I walked out of the office and found this that was compliments of urea. That's just a piece of paper that was laying on a sidewalk. And I know I took this with a phone. Goes back a ways though.
That's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
That is.
For a second, I thought it was a drone shot of something.
Mm.
Yeah, it looked like a house in the middle of a lake or something.
Mhm.
And this one actually is
Colors.
that's out my backyard. This was the snowcopolis, uh,
Mm.
2018, I think.
Oh yeah.
Awesome color. Awesome.
Boy,
It is.
Yeah, this was a black and white that I didn't have to convert to black and white. So
I see green in it. It's not green?
well, they're cedars, and so yeah, there may be some green in
Yeah.
them.
But I mean,
Yeah, look-
you say you shot this in black and white?
No. I shot
No.
shot it in color, but I was saying that I didn't need to convert it because the scene turns out to
Right.
be pretty much black and white. But no, Tom, I think you're right. There is some green, some deep green in there.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
It
good.
looks like it's still snowing in that shot.
Yeah.
It could well be. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Yeah, really cool.
well,
Very
if
nice.
I could just figure out how to
Good.
get out of this. I had this trouble once before. Ah,
here we are. Did it.
well, good meeting.
Mhm,
Good.
mhm. Let's see, our next meeting will be at the church 2 weeks from
Right.
today at 11:15, and our challenge is tools. Right?
Rules.
Mm-hmm.
Tools.
Oh, okay.
How do you spell T?
T.
Not fools.
Yeah, tools or pools or, but it's tools like T, like,
And I guess it was including kitchen or, carpentry.
Yeah.
Yes, because yeah.
anything.
Well, yeah,
Take a picture of me, I'm a tool. Oh.
there are some people that might be called a tool.
Yeah.
Do I resemble that remark?
That's right.
I know anybody that's traveling. I know one person and it's not me, that's going to have a little hiatus. But Lynn, be careful on your trip. So,
Thank you.
Where are you going?
Egypt.
Wow.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I am going to take my Sony, but I'll take my phone too.
Right. Yeah.
Well, thank you
Well,
all.
I wish you the best on you. Wishing the best on the air travel. It's just abysmal. It's
Yeah.
terrible. But
Yeah.
maybe you'll have good luck.
I'm
Past
not
weekend.
flying on Southwest, so that's good.
Yeah, well, yeah, but then you get the Southwest, blowback from it. Just messes everything up.
I think it's gotten a little bit better. Hopefully.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
But we're leaving a day early, so we have a cushion.
that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Be safe all. And thanks again, Michelle, for
Thank you, guys.
joining us.
Thank you.
See you in a
Don't-
month.
And Michelle, don't
Everybody.
be,
Bye.
don't hesitate to reach out if you want something.
All right. Thank you very
Everybody-
much for everything.
Everybody's anxious to help.
Bye.
So later.
Bye.
Thank you all. See you.
Bye.